In our presentation, we will be talking about genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, in order to give some insight and opinions surrounding the idea of feeding the growing population, the use of genetic engineering to improve crop yield and disease resistance.
So, what is a genetically modified organism? At the most basic level, a genetically modified organism, or commonly known as a GMO, is any organism whose genetic material has been altered using genetic engineering techniques. This can be done by inserting a gene into the DNA of a cell, or more common, the cell will divide to become a whole organism with a modified gene/characteristic. The three most common GMOs in today's society are corn, soybeans, and cotton.
In 1973, a major scientific breakthrough was made when two scientists in the United States worked together to make the first successful genetically modified organism. This opened up many new research possibilities, but people then began to worry about the potential ramifications. 2 years later, a convention of scientists, lawyers, and government officials decided that genetic engineering projects would continue, but that safety parameters needed to be put in place. Now, GMOs have grown so big and are such a substantial part of our food source that they are a potential solution to world hunger, which we'll explore more about later. In 1980, the Supreme Court in the U.S. ruled to allow companies to not only be able to patent specific plants, but also the specific genes and methods used to alter those genes. 6 or 7 companies now own nearly all of the genetically modified seeds. That being said, non-GMO plants can also be patented. Overall, this is catering to big businesses and killing the individual farmers, some of whom could benefit most from. There are many positive qualities of genetically modified organisms. GMOs have a wide purpose and can be engineered to be resistant to herbicides and diseases. These plants can also be modified to be more tolerant to extreme conditions such as cold, heat, or droughts, allowing them to be grown in more areas around the world. They can also be changed to eliminate any unwanted part of the plant. So this could be things like seeds or anything that's unnecessary that the consumer wouldn't want. They can also be engineered to add nutrients. An increased shelf life and a high crop yield are also positive aspects. This allows a product to be shipped to more remote areas, reaching a wider population and creating less food waste. Due to things such as added nutrients and resistance to extreme conditions and the other positive aspects discussed previously, GMOs could potentially be beneficial to creating a sustainable food source worldwide.
Genetically modified organism cons. Limited research has been done on long-term effects that genetically modified organisms have on consumers. This gives rise for people to question whether or not they are positive or negative towards the body. Many people have concerns about safety requirements as non-GMO foods are able to meet that GMO foods can meet. Allergies are another part of GMOs in question, leading many people to think that GMOs are responsible for allergies. However, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, food allergies in children under 18 years of age have increased from 3.4% between 1997 and 1999 to 5.1% between 2009 and 2011. Harvard has conducted research, and their studies have said that there is no evidence linked to GMOs and the increase of allergies. However, soybeans engineered with a nut strain, the protein in the nut strain might cause a nut allergy for someone who consumes it. Antibiotic resistance is another factor in GMO cons. Scientists often modify seeds using antibiotic-resistant genes in the genetic engineering process. Some people wonder if there is a link between the genetically modified foods and a rise in rates of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. However, studies have not confirmed this claim, and the lack of information has led to much confusion between the positive impact for genetically modified organisms and the negative impact. Cancer is the last concern for genetically modified organisms, and this being that traces of Roundup herbicide and Roundup tolerant genetically modified corn can lead to cancer. In such cases, Roundup has also been found in soybeans and linked to a depreciation in the human intestinal tract. Are they safe? What non-GMO consumers say. In the late 1990s, GMOs gained negative traction in Europe and the UK media. Many people saw genetically modified organisms as a question mark due to not having enough information in regards to the process of genetically modified foods on the human body. In 1998, more than 1,000 United Kingdom schools took genetically modified foods off their menus and banned genetically modified foods from restaurants. In the beginning of 1998 and into 1999, Prince Charles, as well as the leader of France, the Prime Minister of France, were cautious about genetically modified foods going into their countries. And in 1998, it led to a crop trial destruction and discussions about how the people could receive or deny genetically modified crops. Overall, the public's negative perception of genetically modified foods due to lack of long-term research in more recent past has led to the Non-GMO Project, an organization that makes its mission to label and inform the buyer of genetically modified foods in order for them to choose whether or not they would like to expose themselves to genetically modified foods. The public influence in the 1990s has led to an influence of modern day limitation in the markets for UK and distributing genetically modified organisms or foods in their supermarkets as well as in their restaurants. Transgenic foods. Genes from transgenic foods cannot be directly predicted. Due to the genes being harder to map out with various genetic properties within a substance, the new genes can lead to increased levels of anti-nutrients, some of which cannot be reduced with heat treatment. Genetically modified products, a wide variety of them, display the same compound called Roundup Ready, which is in a soybean, led to anti-nutrients. An increase in the anti-nutrients levels should not be accepted since a genetically modified food may be consumed as a raw material. Many people are concerned with not just the unknown, but the possibility of genes being introduced from the plants, the genetically modified plant, into affecting the person consuming it, and particularly in their digestive tract. Scientists have found that in sampling tissues from pigs and cow's milk as well as chicken breast, they have found genetically modified material within their tissues. However, the genetically modified material was detected in the blood cells for the milk of the cow and in the chicken. But scientists have ruled out that it seems like the small amounts of ingested DNA were not broken down under physiological digestive processes. Therefore, the transgenic genes may not be directly affecting an organism or be able to be detected in the tissues of an animal unless
When it comes to GMO, there's not a lot of alternatives for this procedure due to the fact that GMO was basically created so it could feed a growing population anyways. So the fact of the matter is that they use chemicals to make more produce for the population. However, with recent studies, there scientists do believe, or researchers do believe, that the population can get fed by the technology we use today on small human-centric agriculture. Also, another method that is popularly used in Europe is seed sovereignty, um, which is basically where farmers trade seeds and keep some of their previous seed from the previous harvest. So this increased seed diversity and decreased chemical consumption due to the fact that they're not using chemicals or nothing like that on their seed because they're not doing GMO. So these are two alternative ways that could help feed a growing population.
As technology has advanced, the way GMOs are used has drastically increased. One way GMOs have been used recently is through water uptake and improving water efficiency without compromising carbon dioxide uptake. Researchers at the University of Glasgow found that modified plants were 1.5 times more water efficient than unmodified plants due to the introduction of a light activated channel. Because of this, stoma on leaves responded quicker to fluctuations in the environment. This research could help protect plant life from future issues associated with climate change. Other research has shown that modified plants outcompete unmodified plants by withstanding harsher weather and growing at a much greater rate. Another major advancement for GMOs is their impact on farms and on farmers. 98% of farmers believe that GMOs have helped lessen the environmental impact on their farm. Because of the introduction of GMOs, farmers use fewer herbicides, insecticides, and have less carbon emission by using their tractors less often.
Feeding the world population has become a huge problem within the last couple of years. Our world population continues to grow at a rapid rate, and experts expect that it may surpass the Earth's carrying capacity, meaning there may not be enough food to feed everyone on this planet. As of today, an approximated 800 million people are undernourished, and 36 million people will probably die of hunger. Another contributing factor to the world food shortage is global warming and climate change. These two things make it very difficult for people to grow crops. They cause droughts, which leave crops without water, causing them to fail. They can cause rising temperatures, which also lead to crop failure. A study has shown that an increase in 4 degrees Celsius would cut the U.S. corn production by half of its yield. And they would also cause insect populations to grow. The rise in insect activity would increase yield losses by great percentages. And as the study has shown, it would increase wheat yield losses by 46%, corn by 31%, and rice by 19%.
When it comes to feeding a growing population, it seems like the only solution is GMO. Due to the fact that, first of all, it increases the yield for genetically modified crops, which means that more food in the area. Second of all, it's a herbicide resistant crop, which means that it will prevent any unwanted plants like weeds or whatnot tilling the soil. Third of all, it's a pest resistant, which means no more pesticides, which mean like less usage of pesticide, so less money or revenue needed to go into pesticides. Fourth of all, and lastly, it's a resistance to disease, which means a decrease in microbe infections. So, according to recent studies, it showed that GMOs, soybean, maize, which is corn, and cotton have found 22% overall increase in yield, 37% in pesticides use decrease, and 68% increase in farmer profit. This is all showing that GMO is the right way to go.